What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jordy, and welcome back to F1 23 My Team career mode for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And if you missed last episode, well, once again, another win for us. But George Russell didn't have the best of races, of course. Poor decision making under the safety car. Yeah, just not really much we could really do about it, to be honest, but he still was able to come back through the field for points, 2 points, and at this point it's not really that much of a big deal. The Constructors' Championship, I think we're going to win that by a landslide. George Russell is a great driver, of course. We're running away with the drivers' standings just a little bit. We've only had one race out of the 4 so far where we haven't taken a win, but Baku can serve to be, well, it is one of our bogey tracks in the game. But Jeddah was as well, and we came out with the win and the fastest lap in Jeddah, so who knows. But in previous seasons, of course, Season 4, we came P3 in Baku, so it was a really good time for us. But yeah, we've struggled with this MyTeam car in Baku in particular, and Jeddah throughout the series. Of course, a DNF in Season 3, just an 8th place finish in Season 2, and of course a DNF again in Season 1. So, yeah, anything can happen in this. I'm not too confident going into Baku, of course. Imola as well. Monaco, I'm kind of confident for Monaco. For Spain, I am. For Canada, I am. Austria, I'm not sure about that. We've not really been the strongest in Austria throughout this series, really. But yeah, there's a lot of races here where I feel like we could be really, really strong. So I'm not too sure about the other drivers, though. Hopefully we start to see a lot of the teams finally start to catch up to us. We have maxed out the car. We're doing nothing but stagnating from this point forward. So it's up to the other guys, the other teams, to catch up to us, of course. So without further ado, let's get these activities done. Reaction training for George Russell, of course. We'll do vehicle PR filming and a supplier HQ tour. And yeah, unless there's any department events, I think we'll be getting straight into the race. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to Baku, ready for what looks to be a pretty good Grand Prix, hopefully. We've also got a sprint race, so yeah, big episode coming up. Hope you guys enjoy. Well, it's a good thing I don't really use the practice sessions after FP1 that much anymore, since we've maxed out these cars now, because it is raining in FP2, and it is so disappointing, because a lot of the time when it does rain, you know, it's always in practices. Like, why can't it be in the sprint? Why can't it be in the race? You know, like, that's one of the only things I've been really disappointed with in this game, and unfortunately it is randomized. So I hope there's a feature in future games, in future installments, where we can actually decide whether or not it does rain. Like, again, I did mention this prior, but yeah, even though it might come across as scripted, I just feel like it would be a lot more entertaining to just do that. Like, who cares, you know? If, you know, the viewers care, then don't watch the videos, you know? But it's something I want, because I'm getting sick of these, like, all dry races, even though, you know, I've always put it as approximate. But who knows? Anything can happen. Let's look at the weather forecast, and yeah, similar disappointment right there. So yeah, that is very, very unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. So let's actually have a look at the R&D and see who's made some changes. Red Bull are literally one minor upgrade away from being with us. I'm pretty sure Ferrari have a minor upgrade or 2 ready for them. McLaren have hit themselves with another upgrade as well, so they've made constant upgrades recently. So yeah, we're finally getting some big boosts here. Aston Martin have made upgrades going into this. Alpine still stagnating as Mercedes have overtaken them. And then, of course, Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri all the way at the bottom, which is, it's a shame, but it's another thing I've noticed throughout this career mode. Those teams are the teams with the low facilities. Why can't those teams upgrade their facilities. I don't understand. There really needs to be a fix for this. There needs to, not like, it's not a fix, of course, that's how it's supposed to be, but I genuinely do feel like there needs to be, you know, an update where they allow those bottom 4 teams to, you know, really get ahead, because you see teams like Red Bull and Ferrari and McLaren and Mercedes always having the best facilities. Now, they aren't always the best car. Red Bull is, but Ferrari had a bad season, awful season last season, P7 in the Constructors. But you never see Williams, Haas and Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri up there anymore. It is such a shame. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people with the modded MyTeam Career Series can, you know, obviously override this, which is why in their series you see like Haas, Alfa Romeo picking up a win or whatever. But mate, in the console game, it's just really, really disappointing, and I really hope it's something that gets fixed in future. But without further ado, let's hop straight into qualifying, and then we got the sprint for Baku. It's going to be fun, I hope. I really hope it's going to be fun. I don't want it to be anything like our Season 1 and 3 bouts around Baku. We'll see. Let's get to it. Well, here we go, guys. Our final qualifying of Baku in F123, and you know what? I'll be happy to say goodbye to it, especially in my team anyway. Outside of my team, this track is great, but in my team, it has just gotten progressively worse. I say that Season 1 was a travesty, but that was my own fault. That was completely down to the setup. But from Season 2 onwards, it's just gotten progressively harder to drive this track with how much quicker the MyTeam car has gotten compared to the lack of brake upgrades that there are available. It sucks, and I think there just needs to be some extra performance balancing for the career mode. I really do need to make a video of things that need to be in F124 or in future installments of the game, especially for my team, because this car is unbearable around street circuits, and I'm at the point where I will most likely remove street circuits from the calendar in later seasons of the career mode in F124. I don't know, but this has been a pretty scruffy lap so far. Not the best one I've ever put out, but not the worst neither. Getting really close to the wall there, but we went through the castle section just fine. Logan Sargent sets the first lap of the session as we now come round this pretty high speed turn here. George Russell sets a 139.3, so around there is what we are going to be aiming for as we come around the final big corner, but we've hit the curb too many times on this lap, so it's not going to be our strongest one. We need to clean it up a little bit, but you guys don't really see how difficult it is to actually judge braking points. The racing line doesn't really help around Baku in particular with these later season cars, but we do set a faster lap than Russell, but Verstappen got a toe on us, but I mean, even without it, it was almost a second ahead of us, so big difference, and it is really coming down to the MyTeam car. You can tell because look, Russell's right next to me, and Verstappen was almost a second clear. Strange. But yeah, we're definitely struggling here. I have to brake early on that particular corner because it's just so difficult with the MyTeam car. It's just awful. We go through the castle section a bit slower than last time, so we have lost about a tenth going through that, unfortunately, but still gaining a tenth, so it's still going to be good. It's still going to be an improvement, and we hit the curb, and that is it. That basically cuts short our lap. And yeah, the fact that George Russell is also down there speaks volumes. The MyTeam car is just awful in later seasons when you level it up, especially around Baku. Baku really shows how awful this car is, you know? And it's not as if I could work on the setup to make it better on the corners, because otherwise I'm going to be a sitting duck on the straight. like I have been in previous seasons, and I haven't done that this time. I've prioritized keeping my rear wing as it is and only adding a little bit more to the front downforce. So it's not the worst thing in the world. P11 genuinely isn't the worst thing ever. We've got a sprint race, of course. It's a sprint weekend. So, whatever happens, we're going to make some improvements in sprint, I hope. And then, start the full race a lot higher up the grid. But I think that Red Bull, especially Max Verstappen behind the wheel, is definitely going to be a bit uncatchable. So either way, it doesn't matter. We've had such a great start to the season that, if we get like a P2, P3, whatever, it's not going to affect us that much if Verstappen wins. But here we go. Up to 5 red lights. We're starting right behind Bottas, right behind Sergio Perez. Bottas makes a great start. We have to go to the outside, making sure we keep one side of the car on the track as we move around the outside of Esteban Ocon, taking a bit of curb there to get it through as we try to slot ourselves behind the McLarens. Ocon is still there. A little bit of contact is made wheel to wheel as we attempt to move out the way. And there you go. Up to P6 already from P11. So that was an absolutely beautiful start as we now look to chase down Oscar Piastri in the McLaren here as we set up our first actual lap of Baku here in Season 5. So, I'm definitely pretty good at this track outside of MyTeam, but MyTeam is where it matters. MyTeam is where we do the YouTube series, unfortunately. But if you go watch my co-op career video, you can really tell how much better the handling is for the normal cars in the game, especially since they're slower as well. It also makes it a lot easier in certain turns. But man, turn 7, I think it is, the one before the castle section, absolutely woeful in this game. I don't think I've ever managed to get that corner as right as I want to in the MyTeam. It's a shame. But we'll see how it goes in F1 24, of course. Obviously, if it's still as difficult as it is here, then I'll pick up on it and tell you guys. But apparently we do have a new handling model coming, so Baku will really be a good representation. Baku in MyTeam will be a really good representation of whether or not the handling is really an improvement or not. But I think it's fine. I think F1 23 is just fine. So I don't know what 24 is really going to do in comparison, because I really like F1 23's handling. It's a big factor as to how this game is my favourite F1 game. But here we go, making the pass on Oscar Piastri. He's looking a lot slower compared to his teammates. So maybe that might be signs of an engine issue, or maybe Yuki's just having a better race. But Oscar is still there, pushing us out wide a little bit, retaking P5 as we go into another corner side by side with the Aussie, our former Season 3 arch nemesis. But we managed to come out with the win, and we do speed away from him. So I think he might be dealing with a slight mechanical problem. I don't know, but we take it a little too wide, going after Gasly, and that might cut short our position here, our hopes of gaining any more in the race. So now we just got to defend, but Piastri's going up the inside. Ocon's there as well, and Ocon, why would you do that? And obviously, I just wasn't paying attention at that point, and we crashed right into a wall. Ocon was looking for the inside move on Oscar Piastri, and 3 does not go into that corner. I have no idea what Ocon was thinking there, and that just completely knocked off our wing. I wasn't focusing on the race at this point. I was just mad. And yeah, that has taken us out the race. So all the effort that we did there to get from P11 up to where we were has resulted in nothing, because we're going to be starting at the back of the grid after that DNF. And that is our second DNF. There might be more if you count sprint races, because sprint races don't really come up in the standings, the race results, whatever, when you look at them afterwards. But yeah, we'll be starting back of the grid, bar anybody not taking any penalties. So that's not good at all, because we're going to be losing a lot of points, especially to George Russell, who managed to secure a P6. And of course, like I said, we're not exactly running away with the championship yet. So last place for us, It's good for the rest of the grid.
Home for today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama, and where a fourth row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as pole position, with Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez finishing third from there in 2017 and 2018 respectively. Baku City Circuit then. It's an unpredictable 3.7-mile track around the streets of the Azerbaijan capital. 20 turns for our drivers to navigate today, including the infamous Turn 8, one of the tightest and most challenging corners of the season. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Tsunoda, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Perez, Ocon, Sainz, Bottas, Norris, Théo Pourchaire, Albon, Liam Lawson, Magnussen, Joe, Sargent, Deruvala, Drugovic, De Vries, the owner-driver, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson, a lot of talented drivers out on the track today, but what will stand out for you?
My focus is 100% on the front of the grid. Like you said, we're seeing a lot of strong competition across those positions, so it would be super interesting to see the fight for that front spot. Personally speaking, I'm hoping for plenty of overtakes.
Well, it has been some time since we were in this position. When was the last time we started at the back of the grid? Was it season 1, like Brazil, I think? I think we had to start from the back of the grid in Brazil, putting in some new engine parts or something. I don't know, but this is going to be very, very, very different. And I'm glad something different is happening, actually. I'm kind of glad we've crashed out because it was getting a little boring always being at the top, and I don't want this final season to be us running away with the championship like we have, like we did in Season 4. Season 4, Season 2 as well. Season 2 had some great moments, though. Season 4, yeah, I don't want to repeat. It was a good season, but not exactly good for content, so, you know. But I plan to actually go a bit longer in this race. We're going to go 10 laps on the mediums before transferring to the softs. So our second stint is going to be quite rapid towards the end of the race. Maybe, well, in the second stint anyway, but on the end of the compound's life, I don't know.
And it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. Ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
So yeah, our first stint's going to be pretty important because it's going to directly impact, you know, how fast we're going to be and how good of a position we're going to be in by the time we move on to the soft tyres for the second stint. So we've got our work cut out for us with these mediums, but I feel like it might not be the worst thing in the world, you know. We've got a lot of the cars ahead of us are quite far behind us in the R&D chart. So I feel like getting halfway through the grid might be a little easy. I don't know, but we'll have to see as the 5 red lights do go out. And wow, we've already made a bunch of passes going right up to P17 as we settle into place beside the Williams of Kevin Magnussen here. And I think we'll be able to complete the move as we have a look on the inside of Liam Lawson, but we know 3 does not go into that corner. I do not want to make the same mistake Ocon did in the sprint. I'm quite surprised he didn't get a penalty for that or whatever, but you know, whatever. And we're going to let go of the throttle just a little bit. I don't really trust this car's braking at all later on in this MyTeam season, in this MyTeam series. I just really don't trust the braking, especially around Baku. So, yeah, but so far so good as we did make the pass on the Haas of Liam Lawson right there. But it shouldn't have been too difficult. He has started on the hard, so he's looking to go a bit longer as well as we look to chase down the Alfa Romeo of Guan Yu Zhou. And then just in front of him is the AlphaTauri of Alexander Albon. And then after that, those will be the cars that we might have a little bit more trouble with. But so far, so good. It's a really, really good start. A lot of the cars behind us did not have a good start at all. And hopefully that does change in the next game. I think that's certainly a weak point for 23, is that a lot of the time the AI just does not get good race starts, which gets a bit boring as we go ahead. But they did that because F1 22 had OP race starts and OP cars on the straight. So, you know, I prefer what we got here than that, but they need to find like a happy medium as we now go towards the end of lap 1. Massive slipstream on the Alfa Romeo here, and it's a pretty easy pass for us. And you'll see that the engine power that we do have in this Red Bull Ford engine actually does really help us against a lot of these cars. And our powertrain is better than this AlphaTauri despite sharing engines, so this should be an easy pass as well as we look to make the move. But Albon went to move at the same time and we had to brake a little bit, and I get really flustered trying to overtake him, and we just completely outbrake ourselves there. So yeah, a bit of a dangerous move from Albon there, very dangerous driving, but doesn't matter. By the end of the next lap, got a bit close to him there, showing a little bit of our frustration towards him, but the pass has been made, positioning our car perfectly to make sure Albon cannot overtake. Even with those soft tyres, we've got the pass done. It's done. There you go. Now we've got DRS as well, even though Albon does as well, but we're still tearing away from him as we're using ERS as well to get away. So yeah, a really good start. Within 4 laps we have jumped up to P13, and it might just end up being a P12 as we are catching up to Valtteri Bottas. We do have the advantage of the tyres, of course, as we make the pass on Valtteri Bottas. So the issue with the Mercedes, as we found out last season, was that the top speed was awful compared to a lot of the other cars, and a lot of the cars in season 4 actually outdragged us on the Baku straight. So we don't have to deal with that though now. So a lot of these Mercedes cars are going to be a lot better to overtake, and the Mercedes cars are half the grid. So, you know, but this car isn't a Mercedes. This is the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. As he moves to the left to defend his position, he wants the inside. We're going to take the outside here as we settle behind Lando Norris. We might get a little bit of a slipstream on him as well. That actually does help us get past Sainz. There is a yellow flag ahead, and if you look to the minimap, it looks to be Sainz's teammate Leclerc slowing down on the straight. It's an engine failure, and that is very dangerous. How that has not caused a safety car or a red flag, I've got no idea. But dude was literally driving in the middle of the road towards where I was heading. That, I'm surprised, was not a safety car. I have no idea how the race has gotten away with that. But either way, that gains us another position. And we are now P10 as we look to chase down the other Mercedes of Lando Norris. And like I explained earlier, that engine is woeful, and you can already tell we are catching up a lot quicker as opposed to the other cars on the grid. And end of the day, it's a pretty easy pass on Norris. And now we see a familiar foe in Piastri, who actually ends up pitting on that lap. So Piastri's pitting a bit early as there are yellow flags ahead, and it's his teammate Yuki Tsunoda who spun out in the castle section and crashed out, causing a safety car. Wow, what a crash. The fans loved seeing that. Oh my god. So Tsunoda's completely lost control of the car about a lap earlier than we were going to pit anyway. So this actually really helps us. And we're also going to get an extra couple of laps for these softs as well, which really helps with what I was saying at the end of the race, that we might run into a little bit of an issue. We're clearly not going to. We've pit the same lap as George Russell, so double stack here. That's going to cost us a little bit of time and unfortunately a couple of positions. But it's fine. at the end of the day, we've got a stronger tyre compound, and if we have to make those passes again, it's just fine. It's absolutely fine as we look now to catch the safety car queue. But we do have to re-overtake Mercedes cars. Again, for the reasons I stated earlier, not really too fussed about that. That's going to be easy work, especially in these later seasons, because the cars, they're faster, and so they get up to the top speed real quick. One thing I've noticed about a lot of racing games is that top speed is basically capped for a lot of things, even if you've got DRS, ERS, etc. And it's the same with like nitrous in Need for Speed, for example. So whatever happens, the Mercedes engine is just not the best engine to stick with later on in the career mode, which again is another problem, along with the lack of facility upgrades for certain teams. Because I mean, look at Williams now. Williams are just, handicapped in ways that really isn't fair in the career mode, and I guarantee we'll run into something like that in the driver career mode, as we join a team with a Mercedes engine. Especially if we end up going to Williams or start with Williams. But we make easy work of the two Mercedes cars. Bottas hangs on just a little bit longer, but again, like I said, easy work, and we are right back up the chaff of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, who is chasing down Piastri. The top guys, the top two, so Russell and Verstappen, are already kind of running away with it. Yeah, good for them, to be honest. We've got Alpine's ahead as well. Gasly's doing really well to stay ahead of those guys, but it looks like it's our teammate George Russell who's jumped up to the top two from P6, chasing after Max Verstappen. And yeah, that pass earlier on Carlos Sainz, don't know how I didn't get an FIA warning or a thing where we had to let Carlos Sainz re-overtake. Maybe we were just on the edge of it, but if the game isn't going to penalise me for it, who am I to complain? Either way, we've got another Mercedes car, basically, that we are chasing down and going to make easy work of. It's Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, and yeah, you can tell these Mercedes cars just do not stand a chance. I'm surprised Piastri has gotten this far ahead, but yeah, he's going to be in a bit of trouble, and he'll be either losing positions, or this is where he's going to stay, essentially, as we make easy work of him, an easy overtake, and we look to now chase down the man who caused the crash in the sprint race. It's Esteban Ocon, who is side by side with Sergio Perez. He's actually looking quite slow. Either he's lacking DRS or the Red Bull has some engine issues, but we've had to break a little harder there as Perez has made some evasive manoeuvres, and I'm just going to make easy work of him a little bit on the curb there, but it's a beautiful overtake nonetheless. And we are up to P6, so this is a really good race for us. We've made a lot of overtakes as we now look to make work of Esteban Ocon, who's side by side with us. He's going to take the inside, although I think he went a little too deep there on the inside, and yeah, has not come out the corner as quick as he would have liked. And now we make easy work of another Mercedes car, which I'm actually quite impressed with. Théo Pourchaire has done really well in the Aston Martin. He looks like he'll be overtaken by Sergio Perez though, but either way, it's a really good race for Théo Pourchaire. Since he failed at our team, he's done so well in that Aston Martin on some occasions, so I'm happy for him. He's clearly a mainstay on the grid at this point. But yeah, that was essentially the end of our race. We just had to stay consistent and stick in P4. Pourchaire would probably be fighting with Sergio Perez, so I decided let's switch a view to a battle at the front. Max Verstappen versus our teammate George Russell, who's looking to make the pass on the DRS straight. Verstappen tries squeezing him out just a little bit, but Russell makes the pass, and George Russell takes the lead, here in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Wouldn't that be perfect? A P4 for us, a beautiful, perfect recovery drive, and George Russell taking the win as well. And yeah, Russell probably has a bunch of ERS saved up. For some reason, Max isn't using his, and is barely able to keep up with him. Of course, Russell is also on a better compounder tyre at this point. I think he's on the mediums. I think Russell actually started on the soft, so that's how he got to the top two so fast. So it's been a beautiful strategy by both Slide Team Racing drivers as George Russell looks to take the win here in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but anything can happen on the main straight, so Russell's just got to make the most out of the tyre difference as possible as we now enter the castle section. Beautiful camera angles here, honestly. Some of the best in the game in terms of like different tracks. But yeah, as you could probably tell, Russell was actually pulled away from Verstappen. So yeah, there is the tyre difference as George Russell now comes round the final difficult corner in the game, in the track. And yeah, it looks like George Russell is once again going to take the win. This is beautiful for our team. When I can't take the win, George will always take the win, as he has so far. So just like he did in Australia, George Russell is finally coming straight down the main straight, and he will take the win in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It is a beautiful drive, it is a beautiful race, and we are going to come home in P4, which is not bad at all considering we started at the back of the grid. It's one of my finest drives yet. What a Grand Prix for the team. Oh, what a drift at the end. That wasn't even me, that was the AI. We're going into P4 with style, and obviously, rightfully so, we are driver of the day. What a race.
Easy race here in Azerbaijan. There's drama around every corner, but they've come through to take a brilliant victory here today. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way onto the podium now.
Well, it is a beautiful win for George Russell. His second ever win in a Slide Team racing car. And he's definitely wanting to go for the championship. And hopefully the other cars, the other teams do that as well. I think I actually saw, yeah, I'm pretty sure some teams have already made some upgrades, including Red Bull. So, yeah, I think the season is truly about to pick up. So I'm really excited for it, to be honest. That was a really good race. So, you know, regardless of all the difficulties we've had at Baku throughout this series, regardless of never being able to pick up a win at this track, at least in the MyTeam car, we're ending it off on a good note, and that's all that matters, to be honest. So yeah, a really good P4 for us, a really good P1 for George Russell. He's not that far behind in the championship standings now, so yeah, it's all to play for, and we're still about 90 points ahead of the rest of the teams in the constructors. So yeah, but Pierre Gasly on the podium in the Alpine, really good for him. Théo Pourchaire in P6 gets a really good position as well. So all in all, a pretty good race all around. So yeah, guys, that is the end of this episode of F1 23 MyTeam Career Mode. I don't know what the next race is. I've already forgotten what the next race is. Is it Monaco? I don't think it is. But I feel like... Why do I feel like it is? I don't know. But whatever it is, I'll see you guys very soon. The episodes might slow down a little bit as WWE 2K24 has just come out, obviously. So, whatever. But I'll try and get these episodes out when I can. I still enjoy doing them. So, yeah. Till next time, I'll see you on the next video. Peace!